Yo dudes and dudettes, your friendly neighborhood JaxBlade is back, and since we're about to get some insane quality in Dragon Ball Super these upcoming weeks, hopefully, since I mean, you know, they took a week off and you see the quality of what they're doing so far, I freaking had to do this video. It's a topic that me and my friends have been talking about for a long time, and I figured I might as well do a video series on this because it just gets me hyped every time I think about it.
The gains of Dragon Ball characters. Sure, we've got our All Mights, our Fist of North Star Kenshiros, our various JoJos, and our DANBERU Mankiromateros, but Dragon Ball is without a doubt the undisputed anime god king of training motivation and gains. Now, I know a lot of people are saying One Punch Man training is king these days, but technically we wouldn't have One Punch Man without Dragon Ball and a host of other influences for it to be made, but don't worry, we still love you, Saitama. Matter of fact, I took a poll on various social medias to see who people said had the best physique out of Goku, Saitama, and All Might, and Saitama won. And since that's my current physique right now, I felt pretty good about that, and the ladies don't seem to mind either. But Dragon Ball characters have without a doubt the perfectly balanced physique in my eyes. Big, but not too big, but definitely not small.
And while my damn injuries have hindered me on my fitness journey, Goku is still, to this day, since 3rd grade, my #1 fitness goal. Ladies have various boards around their house of how to get fit like Korra. Well, I got various things of Goku in my room. But today we're going to be looking at how far the Z Fighters have come physically from their very first appearances. And before anyone says,
"Oh my god, you can't seriously compare the physiques to the art style teams."
I know, okay? I know. This is just a fun little video comparing of how they started to how they look now, to how jacked they got, to how skinny they got, to how noticeably jacked they got again during this tournament. So pull your head out your ass and just loosen up a bit and enjoy.
And yes, some things are just straight up inconsistent. Sometimes he looks super jacked, sometimes he looks super small, but this is just a video for fun, alright? Don't take it overly serious. Though Jiren is the god of gains, so that probably has something to do with it.
As a huge Dragon Ball fan since the 3rd grade and a personal trainer for the last 8 years, this stuff is my passion, okay? I love talking about it, so let's get to it. Now I will say I'm going to give each of the characters their own separate video, because if I was just to cram it all in one video, it'd be like an hour long, okay? And I want to give each of these characters their shine. Also, for the record, I'm not going to be talking about what kind of training they were following, because I've done 2 videos on that exact topic before, and I'll leave links to them in the, you know, little card thing that goes by, and you know, just like check the video, end of the video, and all that stuff. All of them are in my Would That Work Out playlist, where I analyze fictional routines of various fictional characters and stuff like that. So be sure to check that out when you get the chance, or after this video, you know, just let me know.
Now let the gain train begin!
Now let's start this off with the icon himself.
Goku, the world's strongest. Defender of humanity. When the Earth is in jeopardy, he's its greatest champion.
The main reason I even trained today. My hero, my idol, the ally to good, nightmare to you.
I know it isn't true to his character, but superhero Dub Goku was the one who inspired me.
But looking at Goku at the start of Dragon Ball, he was just this pudgy, average-looking boy. Honestly, it's hilarious to put these 2 photos side by side and realize they are the same person.
I'd say puberty was inordinately kind to you.
Now from ages 12 to 15, he looked pretty much the same, albeit a bit taller. Not overly muscular like his son at those ages, but just your average boy. But then age 18 hit and BAM! No wonder Chi-Chi was thirsty, even Bulma wanted some of that, son. He got noticeably muscular, with a ripped 8-pack, stronger arms, and a body that looked a smidge bigger than Saitama at the hero test. It was like all his years of training and a big batch of newbie gains hit him all at once. But then we move on to the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. Now at the very start of DBZ, his physique was pretty similar to his 18-year-old self, but he was a bit broader and his muscles had grew a bit. Now, after being killed by his arch enemy turned rival turned friend, Piccolo, while sacrificing himself against his big bro Raditz, Goku got to step up his training in the afterlife after meeting King Kai. This is where he had his first taste of those gravity chamber gains. After getting back to Earth, his body was not only stronger, but his arms had grown too. Not to mention the fact that he now had a move that gave him a pump equivalent of deadlifting mountains and bench pressing planets. He wrecked Veggie for a bit, but then those gains got shat on when Vegeta turned into a Rob Zombie song and smashed Goku to bits. After the battle with Veggie concludes, Goku is left pretty busted, and muscle atrophy, aka muscle loss, was sure to set in until Yajirobe saves the day yet again with a senzu bean. After being healed, Goku hops on a spaceship to Namek with a built-in gravity chamber.
And here's where you notice Goku's gains really start to improve.
Just by seeing him wake up in the morning, we see his abs are more defined, his arms are Schwarzenegger worthy, and he starts to develop that fitness model physique from this point on. Now here's the thing about Dragon Ball. When you look at characters' bods from Ball to early Z, it seems pretty naturally attainable for the real world. They look like dudes who hit the gym a lot, a standard level 3 physique. And for those who want to know about physiques and their levels, be sure to watch this video where I cover it in depth. But during the Namek saga and on, they perpetually hold level 4 physiques and look gassed to the gills. Goku, when arriving on Namek, has a body that shows he's been putting in work in the gravity chamber, with his muscles incredibly defined. But nothing, and I mean nothing, Goku had so far compares to his first Super Saiyan transformation while fighting Frieza. His shoulders are the size of his fucking head. His back has more definition than a dictionary, and the pump was so great it even lasted in his base form.
You son of a bitch.
Anyways, after Namek blows up, Goku heads to Yardrat for about 4 Steven bombs worth of filler, and comes back practically the same as when he landed on Namek. Now, during the 3-year gap of training, and all through the Android saga, Goku's gains are taken to the next level. He now visibly has huge bodybuilder pecs and traps, along with insanely defined shoulders, biceps, triceps, and incredible abdominals. And when training in the hyperbolic time chamber, his new ascended Super Saiyan forms would make All Might and any JoJo blush. But he realized big muscles suck if you can't scratch your own back, and decides to go back to the lean, mean athlete he was at the start of the Android saga while fighting the perfect Bugman. But sadly, his gains weren't strong enough to tank a bug bomb, and he died.
What have I become? My sweetest friend.
Anyways, Goku's boy squashes the perfect cricket, and Goku decides to stay dead so he can live with Greek gods and space monsters for the rest of eternity. I guess you could say Goku was go through with Earth.
Several bad puns later.
Okay, so Goku's in the other world, and for the most part, looks the same as he did during the Android saga. Although, if you read the manga, Toriyama slimmed Goku up a little bit considerably how he used to be in earlier chapters. Though in the anime, the change is negligible. He's not as big as in certain scenes, but he definitely is not small.
And this is actually plausible for real life, because all you have to do is just switch your style of training from being like a heavy powerlifter or bodybuilder to doing more athletic bouts of stuff like MMA, boxing, combative sports, or something like that, and then switch your diet down a bit more, and then that's going to make you shrink but still maintain that muscularity and stuff like that. You may not have the size you used to have, but you may not shrink. A very noticeable person who's done this is Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger back when he was competing compared to when he did, the second Terminator film and stuff like that, then it's like a massive difference. Okay, he's still incredibly in shape, but he's just not as gilled up. Also, he wasn't on juice.
Still maintaining that perfect blend of athletics and aesthetics until the end of the series. Even in Super Saiyan 3, his pump isn't as swole as he was on Namek, but that's understandable as he realized being too jacked can be a hindrance to his speed. But honestly, at the end of Z, Goku's bod is a high level 4, perfectly symmetrical and balanced.
Now I'm gonna mention GT very briefly for the first episode, the final episode, and the Goku Jr. special.
Goku's muscle size is a bit smaller, still swole, and might take it away.
And he's got a body that looks like it was chiseled out of marble.
And there you go. Now on to DBS. DBS. Were they trying to tell us something?
Now in the first few arcs of Super, it's like they sucked the size gains from Goku and made him into more of an athletic warrior type. And at times it looks good, but at others it looks sad. And that lame transformation ain't helping. For the record, I don't like Super Saiyan God. To me, it looks like a less badass version of Kaioken. I mean, look at these comparison photos. Yeesh! But thankfully, by the time of this tournament, Goku is back to being his OG swole self with his new Ultra Instinct form.
But then Goku decided to steal from one of Nickelodeon's most popular shows. Also, because these films are now canon in the series, let's talk about Dragon Ball Super Broly and Dragon Ball Super Superhero. And fun fact, the only reason it's called Dragon Ball Superhero is because Toriyama forgot that Dragon Ball Super had Super in the title, so classic Toriyama. Goku in this film is slightly smaller but still has a good build to him. His hair and skin have gone from the consistency of a small soldier covered in baby oil back to them classic Saiyan Saga looks. Though, when Goku was shirtless, he wasn't as defined as any of his previous incarnations, but that changes once he turns into a fusion that would almost match the rawness of Omnimon if it wasn't just a palette swap of a more iconic form, but still badass to watch.
Later on, he decided to fight a villain from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic and a breakfast-named antagonist whose mother deserves more Yamato Dojin-inspired fan art. But in the manga, Danny Phantom mode, the form is rather slim and goes back to the lean fighter aesthetic versus the yoked 80s action figure physique that you see in Dragon Ball FighterZ. But thankfully, Goku got the sign palette swaps weren't it and decided to go back to the black-haired Ultra Instinct form that we all unanimously love. I prefer the white hair. Okay.
Now you die.
Then in Dragon Ball Super Superhero, this CGI made character is built like a Brolic video game character with some crazy ass hair. But overall, these days, he's not as jacked as he was in the 90s, but not as small as he was in early Super, so I call that a win.
Let's start the second video of this January exclusive series where we analyze Vegeta from the very first appearance he ever made to how he looks nowadays.
Vegeta, full-blooded Super Saiyan, heir to royalty, destined to rule the universe. His ruthless fighting skills are feared by many.
Now I'm going to rewind the clocks a bit to the Bardock special since that's when we got a good look at Vegeta training as a little kid. Vegeta was training against Cybermen as a 47-year-old child. Note I say 47 years old because Jeets is 4 years older than Goku, but in Jack of the Galactic Patrolman and that BS Dragon Ball Minus manga, Goku was apparently 3 years old while Vegeta was 7, but if you go by the Bardock special, Goku was a newborn baby before being sent to Earth and found, and honestly that was some George Lucas BS right there, Toriyama, so I'm gonna go by the Bardock special like most people still do. Anyways, as a child, Vegeta looks to be just average. Not very muscular, but I will say he looks to be in a little bit better shape than Goku was as a kid.
Also, I gotta ask, is anyone else bothered by the fact that they have two different kid Vegetas? And what I mean by that is, the way Toriyama draws him, he draws him with the, Saiyan hair doesn't change from the day they're born, so he has like the widow's peak, but like in the filler, Bardock, father of Goku, and like even a little part of Super, they have that thing where they show him as a kid and he has his bangs, stuff like that. For me, I just like kids with bangs, even though it's not, with the storyline. I'm sorry, that just it's something that bothers me every time I see it. Every time I see Kid Vegeta, I'm like, he has to have his bangs, but whatever, I digress.
Years later, at the start of Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta looks to be quite powerful, but not physically imposing like his partner Nappa. It honestly looks like having Goldberg next to Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee. His Saiyan bodysuit isn't as form-fitting like it is seen to be later on in the series, and doesn't highlight his already impressive physique. After battling the Z Fighters and getting slashed up by the chubby wannabe Shimada, and getting smashed like candy under Donkey Kong, he decides to head back to the base and get himself healed up. While in the rejuvenation tank, we see Veggie has a pretty well built level 3 physique. Remember, like I said last time, for those who want to know about physiques and their levels, watch this video right here. After he's healed, he decides he still wants to get his hands on those Dragon Balls and also get revenge, so he heads to Namek as fast as he can, where he gets into a continual cycle of whooping ass and getting laid out.
I'll give Vegeta this, man can take an ass whooping.
Until his best buddy Goku shows up with his magnificent gains from the gravity chamber he's been putting himself through and proceeds to one-shot fools left and right.
You Myron, bruh?
After a whole bunch of padding, filler, and one of the biggest lies told in anime history, they make it back to Earth where Vegeta wants to train the gravity chamber like Goku did. His physique this time around on Earth is more muscular than before and heavily scarred, especially while he's pumping it out and getting them gravity chamber gains. My boy looks more ripped up than some horny teenagers trespassing on Jason's turf. His neck is nearly gone and his abs are incredibly well defined, and every muscle is sculpted to perfection. After 3 years of training for the androids and who knows how many nights of Bulma time, plus a few days in the hyperbolic time chamber, Vegeta has bulked up quite a bit and his muscle outlines are starting to fill out his spandex suit far more than they did before. I mean, look at them legs.
Extra thick!
And of course, Veggie's dream of finally achieving beautiful blonde hair came true. And like Goku, Vegeta's ascended form gave him muscles that would make Alex Louis Armstrong tear up. Vegeta pretty much holds this appearance for the rest of this arc until 7 years later a pink wad of space gum shows up to wreck shop on Earth. Now, I gotta straight up admit, I absolutely love Vegeta's clothing choice during the Buu saga. I know people like Vegeta's tank top look as it shows he's becoming more fond of his Earth life, but to me, I just like it for that bro crap. His freaking arms and shoulders look diesel as hell and badass. They're bigger than they were at the start of the series, and don't even get me started on Majin Vegeta.
Damn, arms look like a road map. Jesus!
But by the end of Z, Vegeta has a high level 4 physique just like Goku.
Now, like last time, I'll briefly mention Dragon Ball GT.
Vegeta looks to be pretty much around the same size as he was at the end of the Buu saga, but just with shorter hair. Also, being possessed by Baby and attaining Super Saiyan 4 gave him some added muscle mass, but nothing to go crazy over. Now, like last time, we'll finish off with Dragon Ball Super, which pretty much sucks some of the size gains from Vegeta. I mean, look at his poor legs. And, you know, if you've been watching the tournament so far, it's the same thing with what they did with Goku. A lot of the characters are back to their OG selves, or just a bit smaller than before. But that might change since they are hinting at some changes for Vegeta coming up. And boy did they ever! Basically palette swapping the gainful Super Vegeta into a slightly smaller Royal Blooper Saiyan evolved, but it didn't take off as intended, so in the manga they gave him a new glorious choose your favorite purple haired character palette swap, but shaved the eyebrows like Super Saiyan 3, cause we all know Vegeta was low-key Meyer in that form before he gets one-shotted. But let's take a look at the movies real quick. At the start of Dragon Ball Super Broly, our boy is rocking his best fit, the tank top again, and shows just like Goku, he's not as huge, but he still looks great, and even has them Majin Vegeta roadmap arms when frustrated. And then in Superhero, his CGI form keeps his attire and lets him beat Goku for the 3rd time. Yeah, Veggie 3 for 3. Also, just keep Vegeta in this fit toy, it's his best look. But these days, overall, Vegeta is bigger than he was in the Saiyan Saga, but slightly smaller than he was in the Android and Buu arcs.
Today, we're talking about Gohan, and actually I don't have to use the art style excuse for today because he actually did shrink really severely in this series, and it's good to analyze how he lost and gained and lost and gained and gained and lost and all that jazz, but let's get to it. These videos are just for fun, nothing to take too seriously. And for people who want to know about Gohan's training and if Gohan's body is possible for real life kids, I actually did a whole video on that you can find when the card thing goes by up there, and you can watch that after this along with the Goku and Vegeta videos I've already done. Like, I'm doing all the Z5s before Dragon Ball FighterZ officially comes out, so you have that to look forward to. But without further ado, let's get to my main man, Gohan.
Gohan, son of the world's strongest warrior.
My dad taught me not to be scared of bullies like you.
At the very beginning of Dragon Ball Z, we see a 4-year-old Gohan going to visit Goku's friends at Kami House, where he appears to be an average 4-year-old. Nothing exceptionally spectacular about him until his uncle comes and kidnaps him, and we realize he's a mini Hulk with rage boosts. After his dad dies, he's abducted by a mean pickle man who wants to train him so he can battle the alien menace coming, and while surviving on his own in the wilderness, his body undergoes some subtle changes. While still having the body of a child, his arms are starting to become more defined and stronger.
Hey, my arms are getting pretty beefy.
And honestly, he maintains his physique all the way up until the end of the Garlic Jr.
But the Garlic
saga.
Jr. Saga's filler.
I know. Okay. I know. We are just having fun with this video. Okay.
Near the end of the Garlic Jr. saga, Gohan has made all sorts of gains. He's gotten stronger arms, pecs, and a ripped set of abs that would make even the kid Videl swoon. And it only gets more noticeable after training in the hyperbolic time chamber with his dad and unlocking that Super Saiyan pump. And then instead of going the monster mass route like Veggie and Trunks, he unlocks the perfect blend of aesthetics and athletics in his Super Saiyan 2 form. Honestly, I've said this many times before, Super Saiyan 2 Kid Gohan, and yes, he is a kid, don't listen to Budokai because he is 9 in the manga and 11 in the anime, and hell, you can do the math yourself right here, is without a doubt the beastliest character in anime history. When he showed up, bodies hit the floor. The OG One Punch Kid. But by the end of the Cell Game saga, Gohan in his base form as a 9 to 11-year-old boy has a high level 3 physique and also figured out that those Saiyan genetics are insane for muscle retention. 7 years later, while it does appear that he looks thinner from lack of training in his school clothes, I mean, even Vegeta calls him out on it.
Look at you. When was the last time you trained? Just because things are peaceful now is no excuse to get lazy.
He not only retained his muscle mass from childhood, but gained some size as well. As when we see him training with Goten, we see not only has he grown taller, but the size of his muscles have increased quite a bit. Not as much as his future counterpart, who is practically Goku-sized during the Android saga, but still quite a bit. I guess he would occasionally pump out a few thousand push-ups and sit-ups while sipping his juice reading at home. Anyways, as villains like to show up out of nowhere, Gohan has to fight again and gets his crap pushed in fighting the giant man-baby Buu. Though he is saved and taken to the Supreme Kai's world where he trains a bit before finding out an easier way to get stronger. The old Kai then gives him an insane power-up, which buffs him up to be about future Gohan size and gives him a high level 4 physique. But he goofs off instead of, getting the job done right away and proceeds to get beat up and blown up. Anyways, everyone comes back to life like they always do, and then Gohan proceeds to go into a strange case of growing and shrinking. By the end of Z, Gohan looks to be about the same size he was in the Saiyaman saga after settling down with Videl, and in Dragon Ball GT looks to be about the same size he was when he was fighting Super Buu. But during Dragon Ball Super, Gohan shrinks. And I'm not talking about Goku and Vegeta level, I mean just look! Santa Maria! Gohan's lack of training this time around completely sucked away his biceps, triceps, pecs, traps, and I'm assuming abs, and all this muscularity is practically gone. Thankfully, Piccolo got his ass in gear and whooped him back into fighting shape, and these days he's rocking a bod a bit smaller than his Mystic/Ultimate form, but still something of quality. But then we got Dragon Ball Super Superhero, and our boy Gohan is the king of sleeper builds. Wearing baggy clothes and working on DreamWorks and Pixar petty rivalries, he looks pretty lean, but not necessarily massive until our boy gets serious about getting his daughter back, and that video game fighter CGI bulks him up to a good size for a Saiyan warrior before becoming something that was supposed to be a callback to his most iconic form, but ended up looking more like a certain K&D parody. But overall, our boy Gohan looking juiced up these days, and I'm sure Videl don't mind either. Alrighty guys, it is JaxBlade here today to bring you another body progression video for Dragon Ball Z. And before anyone brings it up, yes, we all know the art style changes, but I'm just having fun with this video series until Dragon Fighter Z comes out. So anyways, without further ado, let's get into analyzing Piccolo's start of the series to Piccolo how he looks nowadays. You like that call, man?
Piccolo, a man divided. A link between two worlds. His power alone could save the Earth. Unreal! When enemies come calling, bring it on. He's happy to oblige.
Now, I'm specifically going to be talking about Piccolo Jr., not King Piccolo, though I can honestly do that really quickly. Main physical differences between the two in their base forms as adults: King Piccolo was a gigantic 8-foot tall monster, and our Piccolo was around Yao Ming's height. Lucky he wasn't on the Monstars team. But when we go back to Dragon Ball, Piccolo started off as a little green Namekian boy, but a little bit smaller than Dende on Namek, but still quite lethal. After just 3 years, he grows into his adolescent self and is now 7'5" and has a body that looks on par with 18-year-old Goku at the tournament. Well, until he gets some help from Rita Repulsa.
Think you beat him? We'll see about that!
After one of the goriest battles in Dragon Ball history and taking an L from Goku, Piccolo goes off on his own for several years until Goku's Sonic cosplaying brother shows up to wreak havoc on Earth. Here, honestly, Piccolo looks a smidge bigger than Goku at the start of the series, but no massive changes. It isn't until the Namek saga where Piccolo starts looking like a background Kinnikuman wrestler after fusing with Nail. His body starts to gain more mass as he develops incredible traps, pecs, and arms, and throughout the series he gets a tad bigger and bigger until he plateaus. And honestly, for the rest of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT, he looks the same. He shrinks a bit in Super, but gains it back by the Tournament of Power. No massive improvements aesthetically unless you count power-ups. It's different to look at Piccolo than it is to look at the other humanoid characters, as you can see the muscularity develop and decrease in the Saiyans and humans. With Piccolo, it's strictly bigger or smaller, nothing to go too in depth on. Until Dragon Ball Super Superhero, where our boy Piccolo gets his potential unlocked and gets noticeably bigger afterwards, and then proceeds to turn into this orange brick house. Since he went from green to orange, it's sort of like an opposite world if the Hulk ever digivolved into the Thing. His neck, his traps, his back, his arms, his pecs, everything, and I do mean everything, got increased. And I'm sure Pan's teacher would love to see if anything else got increased, because according to this fandom,
smack him on with your dang-a-lang. Oh, snap.
But without further ado, let's look at the body progression of all the human Z fighters that just changed over the years. And since Krillin was the only one to get a badass Optimus Prime intro in the 90s, well, you know, Tien, Yamcha, take a bench like you're used to. Sorry, guys.
Krillin, Peacekeeper.
Let's do it!
The right hand of justice.
We're here for you, Goku. Just tell us what to do and we'll do it.
In the heat of battle, there's no one better to have by your side.
Let's start with the small, lovable Baldy who scored one of the hottest gals in the series, the Krillmeister. Now, when Krillin is first introduced in Dragon Ball, his body is practically identical to Kid Goku's. Just an average pudgy boy who can do incredible things like sprint for miles on end and knock out full-grown tigers. This was before training with Roshi, by the way, so give my man some respect. Also, for people curious, I did a whole video analyzing Kid Goku and Kid Krillin's Roshi training right here, which you can watch after this. And very similar to 15-year-old Goku, 16-year-old Krillin doesn't make any significant changes by the 22nd tournament besides getting a bit taller. Though, my dude should have had some serious muscle development since he was benching some serious weight. Now, sadly by age 19 at the 23rd martial arts tournament, Krillin was still looking like just an average guy, not too small but not gym ready like Goku, Tien, and Yamcha. He was strong enough to one-punch giant monsters, but just didn't look it, and honestly he maintains this type of body with ever so slightly subtle changes at the very beginning of Dragon Ball Z. But after Goku's big brother Raditz shows up and threatens the whole world with his posse, he figures it's time to get back to it.
I'm only human after all.
Krillin starts training on the lookout with the other human Z fighters, and after a few months develops stronger looking pecs and arms, and he maintains this look up until Namek, where he's starting to get more and more muscular all over. Matter of fact, I would say Krillin looked his most jacked in the Garlic Jr. saga, which we all know is filler. But here he has strong arms, pecs, traps, and looks pretty much like a mini Jason Statham all the way through the Android and Cell sagas. And with a great bod and lovable personality, he scores one of the hottest babes in the Dragon Ball franchise. 7 years later, his size has shrunken a bit from what it was since he hasn't been training, but he's still quite athletically lean, though 18's buddy cardio probably helps him with that. And honestly, after the Buu saga, this is the part where Krillin starts to shrink. Like in height as well, it's weird, but honestly in Dragon Ball Super, he goes back to being somewhat smaller than he was at the start of Dragon Ball Z. No muscle outlines whatsoever, but after getting pumped up for the Tournament of Power, he gains some muscle mass back, but still is not the size as he was when he was actively training.
But still gotta give my man Krillin props. But next up, let's move on to the man with big delts and trapezius, which made Launch act the sleaziest. Damn!
Everyone would definitely fuck his brains out if I got the chance.
Now Tien knew damn well what he was doing from the beginning, that his body was one to be admired. At the 22nd tournament in Dragon Ball, we see Tien with his big chest to bang girls from east to west. Insane buys and tries to cross any girl's eyes and make them want to open them thighs. He knew from the get-go what he was doing with that shirtless physique. Tien has that body that is a temple, and truly shows he took care of it. Over the years, Tien gains more and more size like Conan the Barbarian and gets more rips than Mr. Plinkett at Taco Bell. And over the series, he maintains getting more and more jacked that he practically gets Goku's first Super Saiyan pump shoulders as his casual physique. Them boulder shoulders are absolutely insane to the point I think he needs an intervention.
But Tien, the doctor said if your shoulders get any bigger...
That's why we don't see him anymore.
Anyways, after the perfect cricket man is squashed by his former rival's baby boy, Tien noticeably starts to cover up his amazing gains. But why?
I personally think this is just one of those situations where, you know, you have a pretty good build, you've been working out, you've got a nice strong physique, but then there's always someone who comes along better, maybe with better genetics and also getting that, you know, extra pump in. So you just start to look not as great compared to them. You feel like technically you do look good, but you just have this mental block of like, I'm not as good as these people, so you start to cover up. So that's my little headcanon. Honestly, I was just making that shit up, but that actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Anyhow, Tien still has his He-Man level physique as we see in Dragon Ball Super. It's just covered up under all those clothes.
Wow, one character Super didn't shrink as much. That's something.
But anyways, even in GT, he maintains the same body and doesn't even really age. Damn, he's in his 50s and still looks solid though. I guess that's just a plus of being fit, bald, and healthy because you can't see any gray hairs unless he grows a beard. Just like The Rock.
Anyways, let's wrap this video up with the first human Z fighter we even see in the series. You know, sorry about that, Yamcha. I guess we should have went with you first.
To be completely honest though, I'd pretty much just be re-talking about the stuff I just said with Tien. Yamcha in Dragon Ball starts off pretty muscular, and then by the end is a bit more muscular than he was at the start of the series, just like pretty much everyone else. At the start of Z, he was bigger than Goku, but by the Android Saga, he had a high level 4 physique. Even after 7 years of no training in the Buu Saga, he still has that incredible physique, albeit a bit smaller. And in Super, he gets the shrink treatment, but in GT, he bulks up again. Same old, same old. But at least he didn't pull a Chaozu and just perpetually stayed the same.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Honestly, since a lot of y'all have been asking for this, and it would just complete the OG Z Fighter roster from when we first saw DBZ on Toonami, I def got to finish up this month talking about Future Trunks. Also, I want to get back to playing my game, and he's a freaking badass in it, so let's just get to it.
When we first see Future Trunks in Dragon Ball Z, he's this well-built teenager who would make most folks like the Punisher proud, as he wastes no time cleaning up scum and will not hesitate to kill threats to the planet on the spot.
Hence why he's one of my favorite characters of all time. None of that, if I kill you, I'm no better than you BS. Get the fuck out of here.
He honestly has this really well-chiseled high level 3 physique, though he is more athletically lean compared to the other Saiyans until he steps into the hyperbolic time chamber and gets...
Come on, say it with me now.
Them gravity chamber gains. After 1 year in there, he comes out taller, broader, with longer hair, and looking like the Saiyan version of Jesus. He's bulked up quite a bit for his base form, but takes it to a whole nother level with his legendary pump-ups. Fun fact, you wouldn't have this guy without this form. Damn, he makes Rich Piana, rest in peace, look like Bruce Lee in comparison. But he learns being too big is no good because bugs are harder to swat with less mobile limbs, so he reverts back to his base Super Saiyan form, and after this, he heads back home looking badass in that black tank top while he one-shots every serious threat and becomes the hero the world needs and lives happily ever after.
Right? Wrong!
But before we continue, let's look at pre-teen Trunks. Pre-teen Trunks was honestly around Gohan's size and height in the Cell Game saga, and that's pretty much all we know body-wise about this version of him.
But let's rewind the clock back to present timeline Trunks, and yes, we know like he's not exactly the same as Future Trunks, but it's all we've got to go off for seeing like Future Trunks as a little kid. His pre-teen self doesn't count right there.
Kid Trunks was pretty muscular for his age, not like Gohan, but definitely more than Kid Goku, and same goes with Goten. After training with his dad at such a young age, he developed strong arms and pecs for a kid, but now we fast forward all the way to Dragon Ball Super. Future Trunks now has blue hair for some stupid ass excuse of a reason and has shrunken in size. Though realistically, it sort of makes sense as he barely has any food and he's hiding from Goku Black. It isn't until he goes to the past where he meets his pop and the OG Goku where he unlocks a new transformation which bulks him up a smidge but absolutely nothing insane like he had in the Cell Saga. After Black is destroyed, Trunks is inevitably destroyed as well. By mine, the bedroom.
You're dead.
And for current Trunks in Dragon Ball Super's manga, he's not really that much different. I'd probably say he's a little thinner than, you know, future Trunks at that age, but that makes sense because he's very lazy and just wants to play ball. So good on him though. Well, hey y'all, thank you all for coming out and thank you for watching the video. And if you made it this far, type in Z-Aesthetics for Z-Aesthetics down below to let me know who watched this far in the video. And also tell me which character has your favorite physique in the entire series. It could be one that's not listed here or it could be one of the characters mentioned. I'd really love to talk about it and get a conversation going. And then also
also for people out there still working on a ton of content, got some new stuff coming later this week, well, next week probably, and I hope you enjoy it. And also, again, still working on Mega Spider-Man, working on Mega TMNT 2, working on a bunch of other stuff, and more Tough Like the Tunes, more Would That Workouts, and all that jazz. And also, for people out there who are interested in a good program to get a physique like your favorite characters, I'm having a sale on my home program that you can do at home right now. All you gotta do is like hit that link down the pinned comment below. It is basically just a program you can do in the comfort of your room that'll help you build up and get shredded, and like without any equipment necessary. So check it out. But remember, like I always say, keep calm, booyah on, and don't forget, Momentai. Hope you all have a great day. Peace.